From the outside, sport looks like it's about winning. The trophy, the score, the roar when the ball goes in. But listen to the people who actually got to the top of it. The champions, the coaches, the ones who stood where everyone wanted to stand, and they almost never talk about the trophy. They talk about the years no one watched, the losses, the doubt at 5 in the morning, the quiet war with themselves. That's the strange secret of the games we love. The field is just the place it shows. The real contest was always happening somewhere else. So while the world watches the games, here are the lines the greatest minds in sport left behind about everything the scoreboard never measures. Not the loudest lines, the truest ones. Before the opponent, before the crowd, there's the harder match no one sells tickets to. The one against yourself. Every name in this chapter learned that one first. The battles that count aren't the ones for gold medals. The struggles within yourself, the invisible, inevitable battles inside all of us. That's where it's at. Owens won 4 golds in front of a dictator and came home to a country that still made him use the back door. If anyone had earned the right to call the medal the point, it was him. Instead, he tells you the medal was never the real event. The fight that decides a life is the private one, unseen, unapplauded, and going on in all of us, every day. Success is peace of mind, which is a direct result of self-satisfaction in knowing you did your best to become the best you are capable of becoming. Notice what he leaves out. No mention of the score, the title, the other guy. Wooden won 10 national championships and defined success without once pointing at a result. By his measure, you can lose the game and still succeed, because the only judge that matters is the one who knows whether you actually gave what you had. It's a lack of faith that makes people afraid of meeting challenges, and I believe in myself. We treat fear as if it's about the size of the thing in front of us. Ali says it's really about the size of your doubt. The challenge isn't what frightens you. The quiet suspicion that you can't meet it is. Close that gap, and the same wall that stops everyone else becomes just another thing to walk through. Adversity is the state in which man most easily becomes acquainted with himself. Comfort tells you almost nothing true about who you are. It's the bad night, the losing streak, the moment it all comes apart, when you finally get an honest look at what you're made of. Which is why the wise stop dreading hard seasons quite so much. That's not punishment arriving. That's the mirror. Get over yourself. It's not about you. You are not that important. Get over yourself. It sounds harsh until you feel the relief in it. So much of what crushes us is just self-consciousness. The certainty that everyone saw the mistake, that they're all still thinking about it. They aren't. Kobe's blunt little mantra is a door out, and the day that stops being an insult, it becomes freedom. True heroism is remarkably sober, very undramatic. It is not the urge to surpass all others at whatever cost, but the urge to serve others at whatever cost. Ashe broke barriers no racket could, then spent his last years quietly telling people the loud version of greatness was a counterfeit. Real heroism, he says, has no soundtrack. It isn't the hunger to beat everyone. It's the willingness to be useful when nobody's filming. And it costs more, not less, for being so plain. The only victory that counts is the one over yourself. Every rival eventually retires, gets old, disappears. The one opponent who's there your whole life is the version of you that wants to quit early, cut the corner, take the easy lie. Beat him, Owens says, and you've won the only contest that follows you home. Lose to everyone else but win that one, and you've still had a good life. You should never try to be better than someone else, but never cease trying to be the best you can be, because that's under your control and the other isn't. Here's the whole trap of comparison, undone in one sentence. Measuring yourself against other people hands them the steering wheel. Their results, their luck, their day, now decide how you feel. Wooden quietly takes it back. Aim everything you've got at your own ceiling, the one thing you actually hold the keys to, and let the rest of the world run its own race. No one reaches the top of sport without a long, ugly record of losing. The difference was never that the great ones failed less. It's what they decided failure was. I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. I've failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed. The man we hold up as the picture of winning chose to introduce himself with a list of failures. And then the turn. Not in spite of, but that is why. He's telling you the misses weren't the obstacle on the road to the greatness. They were the road. There's no other version of the story where he gets good. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. It's funny because it's true, and it's wise because it's about far more than boxing. We build neat plans for lives that don't stay neat. The test was never whether you had a plan. It's who you are in the second right after it falls apart, when the script is gone, and all that's left is what you actually do next. Failure is not fatal, but failure to change might be. A loss doesn't end you. Refusing to learn from it slowly might. Wooden draws the line exactly where it belongs, not between people who fall and people who don't, walking back toward the same wall. I can accept failure. Everyone fails at something. But I can't accept not trying. There are two completely different things we both call failure, and Jordan refuses to let them share a name. Reaching for something hard and missing, that's just the cost of attempting anything worthwhile, and he made peace with it long ago. The one he won't forgive is the quiet kind, the not trying, the shot never taken, the failure that leaves no scar because nothing was ever risked. I never thought of losing, but now that it's happened, the only thing is to do it right. We all have to take defeats in life. This is the most boastful man in sport, in the moment the boast finally broke. And notice, no excuses, no collapse, just a strange, grown-up dignity. If the loss has come, then lose it well. Defeat arrives for everyone eventually. The only choice you're ever offered is how you carry it. Don't beat yourself. That's the worst kind of defeat you'll ever suffer. Most losses, Wooden noticed, aren't really handed to us by an opponent. We give them away, through the careless error, the lost temper, the focus that wandered at the wrong moment. An opponent who beats you can at least be respected. The defeat that stings for years is the one you handed yourself, while no one was even guarding you. When I suffer a loss, it still feels like the first loss I ever suffered. And when I win, it is like my first win too. We tend to call this being unable to let go. Maradona calls it staying alive. The day a win stops thrilling you and a loss stops hurting, something in you has quietly retired, whatever your age. To still feel it all like the first time isn't weakness. It's the last proof that you still genuinely care. Every disadvantage has its advantage. Cruyff said it the way only he could. The little riddle that turns out to be a whole philosophy. The slow player learns to read the game early. The small one learns balance the big one never needed. The thing you were handed as a weakness quietly trains a strength your rivals will never have, precisely because they never had to. The match is the part with witnesses. It was decided long before, in the thousands of dull hours nobody clapped for. I hated every minute of training, but I said, don't quit. Suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion. He didn't pretend to love the grind, and that's exactly why it lands. The discipline wasn't joy. It was a trade. A finite stretch of something he hated, paid now, in exchange for a self he'd get to live with forever. Most of what we want is on the far side of a deal we don't feel like making. Ali just made it anyway. Success is not an accident. It is hard work, perseverance, learning, studying, sacrifice, and most of all, love of what you are doing. From the man some call the greatest ever, a quiet refusal of the word natural. He lists the unglamorous machinery behind every gift: work, patience, study, sacrifice, and then puts the real engine last: love. Because all the rest is unbearable for long without it, and almost inevitable with it. Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. 6 words and a whole way of living. The outcome you'll meet on game day isn't really decided on game day. It's mostly already written in how seriously you took the ordinary days before it. When you skip the preparation, you aren't avoiding the work. You're quietly choosing the loss in advance and just postponing the moment you find out. You don't do it right once in a while. You do it right every time. We love to talk about peak moments. Lombardi cared about the opposite, the boring consistency underneath them. Excellence, to him, wasn't a thing you summoned for the big game. It was a habit so worn in that it showed up on the days that didn't matter, which is the only reason it could be trusted on the days that did. I set a goal I could realistically achieve if I worked hard enough, and I approached everything step by step. For all the talk of his fire, the method was almost humble. Not one impossible leap, a near goal, then the next one, then the next one, then the next. Greatness, up close, turns out to be unspectacular. A long chain of reachable steps, taken in order, by someone who refused to skip any of them. Make each day your masterpiece. We keep saving our best for some big day out ahead. The final, the chance, the moment we're sure is coming. Wooden gently moves the whole thing forward to now. Don't wait for a stage worthy of your effort. Pour it into the plain, unremarkable Tuesday in front of you. Because a life of great days is just a great many ordinary ones, each one quietly made to count. If you aren't fired with enthusiasm, you will be fired with enthusiasm. A coach's joke with a blade in it. The energy you bring isn't a small or private thing, but sooner or later it decides whether the work keeps you or lets you go. Caring is not optional decoration on top of the effort. It's the part the world is actually measuring, long after it stopped checking your talent. The biggest, fastest, strongest body doesn't always win. The men in this chapter built their whole legend on a quieter weapon: thinking. Football is a game you play with your brain. You have to be in the right place at the right moment, not too early, not too late. Everyone else was coaching the legs. Cruyff was coaching the head. Speed, he saw, is overrated. And it's true far beyond the pitch. Most of life's real advantage isn't about running faster than everyone. It's about reading the moment well enough to already be standing where you needed to be. A football team is like a piano. You need 8 men to carry it, and 3 who can play the damn thing. Shankly's joke hides a hard truth every great team knows. Not everyone gets to be the one making the music, and the carrying is not the lesser job. Without the 8 doing the unglamorous lifting, the 3 with the gift have nothing to stand on. Most of what looks like brilliance is quietly being held up by people you never name. Quality without results is pointless. Results without quality is boring. Cruyff refused the usual either-or. Beauty that never wins is just self-indulgence. Pretty and forgotten. But winning with nothing behind it, no style, no idea, is a hollow thing nobody remembers either. He wanted both, and his whole life was the argument that you don't actually have to choose. We do not buy superstars. We make them. A whole way of seeing people, in 6 words. The easy path is to go shopping for the finished article, someone else's work, bought ready-made. Wenger's pride was the slower, riskier faith. That greatness is mostly grown, not purchased, and that the deepest satisfaction is watching someone become, under your patience, more than anyone thought they were. If you can't win, make sure you don't lose. On a bad day when your best simply isn't there, the goal quietly changes. Not every contest can be won, but most can still be survived, kept alive, denied to the other side. There's a wisdom in that the young rarely have, knowing the difference between the day to chase the win and the day to simply refuse to be beaten. Talent wins games, but teamwork and intelligence win championships. Talent is enough to win the odd night. Jordan, of all people, is the one telling you it isn't enough to win the thing that lasts. A single brilliant player can light up a game. Only a team that thinks together gets to lift the trophy at the end. The gift opens the door. Something less flashy, patience, trust, intelligence, is what walks you through it. The deepest lesson sport keeps teaching its greatest names is the one the ego least wants to hear. You are part of something, and serving it is the whole point. Talent is God-given, be humble. Fame is man-given, be thankful. Conceit is self-given, be careful. Wooden sorts the three things that go to a person's head and tells you exactly how to hold each. The gift you were born with, that was never your doing, so stay humble. The praise, that was a loan from others, so be grateful, not entitled. And the swagger you grant yourself, that one's homemade, and the only one that can quietly ruin you. At a football club, there's a holy trinity: the players, the manager, and the supporters. Notice who's missing from Shankly's holy list. Not the owners, not the money, not the men in the boardroom. The thing he called sacred was the bond between the people who play, the people who lead, and the people who show up and care. Strip an institution down to what's actually holy in it, and it's almost never the part with the money. A player who makes a team great is more valuable than a great player. There's a difference between being good and being good for everyone around you. Wouldn't prize the second one. The player who lifts the other four, makes them sharper, calmer, braver, is worth more than the star who shines alone while the team dims around him. Ask it of yourself, not just an athlete. A life is not important, except in the impact it has on other lives. The man who broke baseball's color line, who took years of abuse so the ones after him wouldn't have to, measured a life by one thing only. Not the records, not the fame, what it did for other people. By that scale, the quietest helpful life outweighs the loudest selfish one, and the scoreboard he's pointing at is the only one that's still counting after we're gone. You can't live a perfect day without doing something for someone who will never be able to repay you. Here's his definition of a good day, and there's no winning in it at all. The thing that completes a day, Wooden says, is a kindness with no payback attached, given to someone who can't return it, done for no reason but that it was right. Everything else you do can be a trade. That one act is the only part that's pure. Every kid who plays soccer wants to be Pelé. I have a responsibility to show them not just how to be a player, but how to be a man. He understood what the worship actually was. Not a reward to enjoy, a weight to carry. If 1,000,000 children are copying you, then how you carry yourself off the field teaches more than anything you ever did on it. Influence you didn't ask for is still yours to answer for. The great ones answer it on purpose. Young people need models, not critics. It's easy to stand at the side and point out what's wrong. Anyone can do it, and it changes almost nothing. What actually shapes the next person isn't the volume of your criticism. It's the quiet example of a life done well, in front of them, where they can see it. Be the thing worth copying, and you'll teach more in silence than a critic teaches in a lifetime of talking. The same people who preached patience and humility were also, every one of them, a little impossible. They aimed at things they had no right to reach. That, it turns out, was the point. Aim for the sky and you'll reach the ceiling. Aim for the ceiling and you'll stay on the floor. Wherever you set the target, Shankly noticed, you tend to land a little short of it. So the height of the aim quietly decides the height of the life. Aim low to be safe, and safe is exactly where you'll stay, on the floor. Aim at something almost absurd. Miss it honestly, and you'll still end up further than the cautious ever dared to stand. If my mind can conceive it, and my heart can believe it, then I can achieve it. Two things have to come together first, and Ali names them in order. The mind has to be able to picture it. You can't reach what you can't even imagine. And the heart has to actually believe it's possible for you, not just for someone luckier. Get those two to agree. And the hands and the legs, the doing of it, tend to follow where they lead. We don't want to tell our dreams. We want to show them. There's a kind of person who announces everything and finishes nothing. Ronaldo's line is the quiet opposite. Talk is cheap and early. Proof is expensive and late. Keep the dream a little to yourself. Pour the noise back into the work, and let the result do the announcing once it's real. The loudest answer to every doubter was never a sentence. It was the thing. Done. Limits, like fears, are often just an illusion. He pairs them on purpose, because they're the same trick. Most of the walls we stop at were never really there. They were a story we believed, a line we drew and then mistook for the edge of the world. Jordan isn't promising there are no limits. He's telling you that most of the ones that stopped you would have moved the moment you pushed. A dream is more pure than an obsession. A dream is about pride, a surprising line from the sport's great provocateur, and a careful one. The same hunger can curdle. Chase a thing for love of it, and it lifts you. Chase it to fill a hole, and it slowly eats you instead. The difference isn't how hard you want it. It's whether you'd still respect yourself on the day you never got it. The man who views the world at 50 the same as he did at 20 has wasted 30 years of his life. Standing still feels safe. Standing still feels safe. Ali calls it the real waste. 3 decades should leave a mark on how you see. This softens some certainties, harden others, change your mind about something that matters. To arrive at 50 thinking exactly as you did at 20 isn't loyalty to yourself. It's 30 years you were given and never quite opened. The road to the Olympics leads, in the end, to the best within us. Owens lands the whole thing where it began. The medals, the records, the roar of the stadium. The road was never really heading toward any of that. It was heading inward all along, toward the best version of the person walking it. And that destination doesn't require a stadium. It's open to anyone willing to walk the long, unglamorous road of becoming who they could be. If happiness is liking the life one lives, I can say I have been happy and still am. After everything, the trophies and the bitter seasons, the worship and the abuse, Wenger sets out the plainest definition of a life well spent. Not the winning. By that measure, a quiet, unfamous life can be a triumph. The only real question at the end is whether you'd choose it again. The crowds go home. The records get broken. The trophies tarnish in some cabinet, and a new name takes the place of the old one. That's the one thing every athlete here knows is coming. But the quiet things they learned out there don't expire. How to lose without breaking. How to work when no one's watching. How to want something fiercely and stay humble underneath it. You don't need a stadium for any of that. The inner game they're all describing is the one you woke up already playing this morning. So take the one line that found you tonight, the one that landed a little harder than the rest, and carry it into whatever you're up against. The scoreboard was never the real contest. It never is. If this is your kind of quiet, there's more of it here. Subscribe and you'll catch the next one. The Mind of Muhammad Ali Alone. And, it turns out, one of the wisest about fear, faith, and what it costs to call yourself the greatest. Until then, take care of yourself out there.